This is the Luckiest Golfer on Earth podcast, where we follow the journey of one man as he attempts to play America's 100 greatest golf courses in a single calendar year. Ted Fenton and Michael Higgins break down and plan the golfing adventure of a lifetime that is scheduled to tee off on January 1st, 2023. Each weekly episode takes you inside the ropes to America's 100 greatest golf courses. Please join us each week as we talk to head PGA professionals, industry leaders, and some of the luckiest golfers on earth. Let's join Teddy and Higgy now.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Luckiest Golfers on Earth podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Teddy Fenton, and we have a great show for you today. We've got a lot to talk about. We're here to talk about this past U.S. Open at Brookline, Massachusetts at the Country Club, and the U.S. Senior Open at Saucon Valley Country Club in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I want to welcome my good friend and co-host Michael Higgins to the mic. How you doing today, Higgy?
Teddy, I am doing great. You know, the past two events you just spoke about, the U.S. Open and the U.S. Senior Open, I feel a little bit of a connection with both. One, the U.S. Open was in Brookline, Massachusetts. I live in Massachusetts. You lived in Massachusetts for a long time. I was able to go on site, spend some time there, work the first tee as a starter. Awesome. And then the U.S. Senior Open, a lot of my friends, a lot of New England PGA professionals tried to qualify, and a few actually did and played in the event, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But the USGA did an amazing job, and the membership at both of those facilities did an amazing job opening their doors, from the volunteers to just the weather cooperating for the most part. It did rain a little bit at the Senior Open, but
there was a wet opening day.
The stars aligned, and it was great. But first, let's chat about the U.S. Open. And real quick, I was able to
Matty Fitzpatrick. Oof.
Well, I was able to be there the Sunday before, so literally 7 days prior to when they crowned Matty. And I didn't realize this. They actually have practice rounds that start on Sunday. So you had these players that were flying in from PGA Tour events. Some of the guys, it was the first live event in London. They flew in. You had amateurs that had qualified coming from all over the country coming in. So it was really neat. There's no press. There's really no security. And, they're out there. A lot of them were playing by themselves, bringing their TrackMan or their flight scopes, put them on the tee. They had their coach with them, or definitely their caddy, maybe a spouse. Really laid back, and I had never really experienced that. Every practice round for any major championship I've been to, the Masters or PGA Championship or U.S. Open, the practice rounds are organized, and there's a crowd, and this was just different. It was neat. It was kind of cool. The players are a little bit more relaxed on practice rounds days, Teddy, but this one is even. This was even more relaxed from the time that they're walking from the player hospitality or to the range or to the first tee or the putting. I mean, the putting green at the Country Club literally is adjacent to the first tee. I mean, you're steps away from the putting green while the folks are trying to tee off, and it's just really, really cool to be at a golf course hosting a major event that you've played a bunch of times in your life, to see where the best players in the world hit it compared to you, knowing that I'm not even close to being able to do what they do. It's just pretty neat, And then you rolled in a couple days. Oh, actually, no, the next day. You rolled into town on Monday.
Yeah, and it was a godsend for me. And Higgy, I can't thank you for hooking me up with the passes. That was clutch. It gave me an opportunity to see how the boys on the PGA Tour. And from everywhere in the world, the greatest players come to the U.S. Open. It's literally the Open. And, it was, we're walking on some special ground there. I mean, literally across the street, I walk by Francis Ouimet's house where he grew up. like, and would walk across the street on his way to school. I think he would walk across 15 in order to cut through to get to the school on the other side, and grew up caddying there. And the legendary story of how he took on Ted Ray and Harry Vardon, who at the time was like the Scotty Scheffler and the John Rahm of today's day and age. And he was a nobody. He was a 20-year-old kid who was a caddy who was, out of nowhere, but won the U.S. Open in 1913. And what Brendan had told us about Francis, I never really gave context to, but, the episode where we had Brendan Walsh talking about the country club, he brought up the fact that Francis, we met, had won the U.S. Open in 1913 and then won the U.S. Amateur in 1914. Then, I believe it was 17 years later, he won the U.S. Amateur as a 38-year-old after winning the U.S. Open as a 20-year-old, like 18 years later. Like, that's unheard of, for an amateur to he was a lifelong amateur. He never turned professional. To
be that good over decades, because there were a lot of local wins in between his U.S. Amateur wins. He had
a Mass Am,
and Mass Opens, and he was a captain of the RNA, I believe was the title that he bestowed on him, the first American to ever. So he was the man for a long time, and his legend lives on with the Francis Ouimet Scholarship Fund, and millions of dollars a year go to very deserving college golfers that are getting some financial aid through that scholarship. So it's pretty special. And I will say it was nice to have a major championship that went down to the wire, and to have a great story, and Will Zalatoris, who is just
I was gutted for him.
I mean he was.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win soon. He's gonna win a big one soon.
There's no doubt in my mind. I completely agree. And when I was working the tee, he was on the putting green, and so many people, so many commentators, they even did a slow motion video of his putting stroke, and there a lot of comments about how can someone's putting stroke be so bad, but it gets in the hole. So and I'm watching this and I'm like, man, it's a little bit loopy and whatnot, but he gets it done. And under pressure, he still gets it done. And he made some clutch putts and some amazing putts to hang in there, and he still had a chance. But Fitzpatrick he was just solid. I mean, that's how I would describe it. Just solid.
How about that? How about his story? How about the sand shot on 18? You think there's like a little door, a little window open, and he just, threw a dart.
Yep. And so back in early April, we had a Massachusetts chapter of the New England section spring meeting, and during the spring meeting, Brendan Walsh spoke, and he spoke a few minutes about the U.S. Open coming to Brookline, and he was just telling his fellow PGA professionals what you can expect, what's been going on at the country club a little bit, and he kind of did what he did for us, and he gave a little bit of the history of who played in the amateur back in 2013, and that was playing in the U.S. Open this year, and he made it a point. He said, Fitzpatrick won the U.S. Amateur here, loves this place, sets up for his game, and he said, you know what, I think you've got to watch out for him. And I remember like, well, it was kind of a prediction, but he didn't. As he said on our podcast, he's not a gambling man. But if you had to ask him his thoughts, Fitzpatrick was the man, and he called it. And
he did on our podcast 3 weeks before it happened. He called Matt out.
And what a story with Fitzpatrick. He stayed with the family that he stayed with in the home that he stayed in during the U.S. Amateur.
That's cool.
He stayed in the same home, the same bed, and everything just worked out. The stars aligned again, and it's just a really, really cool story. And even Zalatoris went up to Fitzpatrick's parents after the final round, and as a true gentleman. I mean, just if you want to teach your kids about sportsmanship, here's a perfect example. He went up to
Class
his parents
act.
and said, if I were to lose to anyone, I'm just happy it was your son. So I think that's just that speaks volumes of him as a character. And as you said a few minutes ago, he is going to win, and we're going to be hearing his name for a long time coming. I still don't know if I could spell it, but I could definitely say it. So
one of the first interviews I saw of Will Zalatoris was on the Pat McAfee show, and I think Pat butchered his name and said like Zalatoris or something like that, and Will went through like a number of like how people just destroy his name, but it is Will Zalatoris for those keeping a record. He's definitely due. There was a nice little cherry on top, and Mike is rocking a Worcester Country Club hat right now, and he was gracious enough to invite me out to play while I was going through, and to be on that course, Mike, with you, the first group on a Friday morning at 7:30 a.m., just the two of us out there. It brought back a lot of memories, and just really solidified that I'm so glad that you're helping me with this, and that we're getting to play golf again, after all these years. There's a lot of distance between Boston, Massachusetts and Encinitas, so the opportunities for me and Higgy to play golf over the last 30 years have been far and few between, but it's always a treat every time we reconnect. It's like, boom, it's like I play better, you play better. There's some kind of synergy when we get it going. So thank you for that.
Said,
thank you.
It was a blast. It was great. We had great weather.
Yeah.
The course was in amazing shape.
God,
and
incredible.
there were there have been so many changes since you were last there. I couldn't count how many times you were like, wow, there were so many trees on this hole, or I remember the tree here, and wow, this is amazing. And it's going probably, hopefully you'll play again soon, but within a year, Gil Hands is coming in to do a golf course renovation. I think next year, 2023, Gil will come in, and he's going to do a renovation at Worcester Country Club, and you're going to see a lot of changes. Some, I think I need to see it. I'm trying to picture it, and I question why, and others are like, wow, that's pretty awesome. But when you've got one of the hottest golf course architects coming in to perform a renovation on your course, it's pretty exciting. But when we were playing, Teddy, you said something to me during the round. You said we're 180 days away from teeing off and starting the journey on January 1, 2023. And it kind of stopped me in my tracks, and that's not a lot of time. I mean, we're getting close. That's around the corner. That's like a school year, right? 180. There's like 180 days in our old high school years, 182 days or something.
Yep.
That's coming here quick. And we're going to blink, and we're going to be trying to figure out how we're going to pull this thing all together. So we've been, some great updates, right? We've got a lot of golf courses booked. I was very fortunate to go on a little vacation. I went to the West Coast, went to Northern California. I spent some time in San Francisco, worked my way down to Santa Cruz by Pasatiempo, drove 17-mile drive and saw, Spyglass and Spanish Bay and Poppy Hills and Pebble Beach and Cypress Point. And, I'm calling you going, I can't wait for you to start this journey. I'm so excited for you. I'm so jealous. I'm so happy to be, along for the
Mike,
ride.
You're going to be there for a lot of it.
No. I know. I'm fortunate and appreciative, but it hit home, and this is happening, and it's happening soon. So I don't know. Can you tell I'm excited at all?
Yeah, I mean, dude, you see my smile. I'm ear to ear, just listening to you talk. And you're right. It is. It's when you say something 6 months away, it sounds like it's, kind of far away. But when you say it's 180 days away, man, all of a sudden it sounds a lot closer. But we have a mountain of work that we still have left to do. We have a number of golf professionals, PGA professionals at a lot of these golf courses that have agreed to come on the podcast. It's just a scheduling thing. The golf season is in full swing just about everywhere. It's the middle of the summer, and these are some of the busiest PGA professionals on the planet working these top 100 clubs. So in the meantime, I got incredibly lucky in getting to attend the U.S. Senior Open right after the U.S. Open in Brookline. It was happening in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, at Saucon Valley Country Club, which has a storied history. I didn't really realize that golf course was so amazing, but had an incredible opportunity to get inside the ropes at the U.S. Senior Open and met just legendary guys. We're talking about Ernie Els. We're talking about David Duval. We're talking about Mark O'Mara. We're talking about Peter Jacobsen. We're talking about, Patrick Harrington, who won it. I had an incredible time at that golf course covering, and also I can't fail to mention Brian and Eddie Kirby. I got to meet, your guys from your section that, we're duking it out and making a run at the U.S. Senior Open. It was a major, and it felt like it was a major. But while I was there on Thursday, I was talking with my man Dan, who has a company and a Instagram page called Leave the Pin. Really great guy. I'm so glad we got a chance to meet, and he ended up helping me out later in the weekend. But we're standing there on Thursday, like in the players section, and sure enough, Patrick Harrington comes walking down, and I just took an opportunity and I pointed at him, and I just said, "You're gonna win. You're gonna win." And he kind of chuckled, walked by us, and said, "Well, what makes you think that?" And I said, "Well, Patty, golf is a young man's game, and you are the young man out here. And man, if I had a $500 or $1,000 to throw down on Patrick Harrington on Thursday, I wish I had done it, because he ended up pulling it off and winning, another major to his, I believe he's got 3 majors. But on that journey, while I was, rubbing elbows with these guys, you'll never guess who I bumped into. A legend from when you and I were growing up. And
one of my favorites.
Yeah, the man, like Mr. Peter Jacobsen. It blew me away, Mike. Just to give you guys some context as to how this all happened. So I'm kind of standing back. I see Peter and his brother in a golf cart, in an NBC, Golf Channel golf cart, and they're driving along, and they pull up to the putting green right in front of the clubhouse. And there's a bunch of guys out there. Robert Allenby's out there. Freddie Funk's out there. Mark O'Mara's out there. They're all on the putting green. And Mark O'Mara shouts out to Peter, "Hey, Peter." And they come together and hug, and they're having this long conversation. And, I was hoping for an opportunity to meet Mr. Jacobsen. And when the two of them got finished, he turned around. I walked up to Peter and I just said, "Hey, excuse me, Mr. Jacobsen, do you have 30 seconds? I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know about Luckiest Golfers on Earth podcast. And, we'd love to have you on as a guest if you can find the time." And I thought I was going to get the brush and, hey, maybe next time, I got a really busy schedule. But the guy leaned back in his chair in his golf cart and he said, "Well, tell me about it." And we sat there and talked for maybe another minute or two. And he just said, you know what, Teddy? Yeah, I'll come on your podcast. When do you want to do it? And I said, whenever your schedule permits. So sure enough, he said, you know what? We'll meet tomorrow at noontime. Come by the green trailer where we do the commentating for NBC, and meet me there at noon tomorrow. So I'm all excited, and I'm looking at the Weather Channel, and it's going to pour. It's going to rain cats and dogs. It's going to be a very wet, U.S. Senior Open. And he called me at like 8 o'clock in the morning on my cell phone, and it's an unlisted number, and I pick it up. I said, hello. I said, Teddy, this is Peter Jacobsen. And I'm like, how you doing this morning? He's like, it's going to be soaking wet. Let's bump that interview to tomorrow. I said, fantastic. So went out to the trailer the next day at noon, and my friend Dan with Leave the Pen, give him a follow, people. He's a good guy. He manned the camera, and I got an opportunity to sit down with Peter Jacobsen and talk about how he had been lucky in life, lucky in golf, and just playing one of the luckiest golfers on earth.
Let's roll your interview with Peter Jacobsen.
Okay, here we go, folks. Hope you enjoy it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Luckiest Golfer on Earth podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Teddy Fenton, joined here with 7-time PGA Tour winner, 2-time Champions Tour winner, and both of those were majors.
Yeah.
Unbelievably uber talented commentator for the NBC channel and the Golf Channel, and incredible impressionist, musician, singer.
I didn't bring my money to pay you, but that is the nicest introduction I've ever heard.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Peter Jacobsen.
So funny.
Peter, you and I met very briefly the other day, and I told you a little bit about what's going on. I'm trying to play America's 100 greatest golf courses in a single calendar year, trying to raise $100,000 for the GBS CIDP Foundation while I'm out there. And we created a podcast, myself and my partner, Michael Higgins, the executive director for the New England section of the PGA. And we have had PGA professionals of the top 100 on to talk about their golf course, but we also have special guests like you come on and talk about how they've been lucky in golf, lucky in life, lucky in love, or just plain lucky in general. So can you please share with us one or two of those stories of you being super lucky in life?
Well, first of all, when we met, you told me your story, and I admire you for the way you're handling your health situation.
Thank you.
And the way that you're going about this. You're using this as a platform to help others,
yeah,
and to bring warmth and some interest to people that are struggling in life. We were just talking about how playing professional golf, like I've done for 46 years, transitioning to doing TV, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, luckiest golfer in the world, simply because I was not the best player on the tour. I wasn't the worst player. I had some success, and every time I had that success, I just thank God for the opportunity to be able to do this. Nobody wants to play bad. Nobody wants to shoot bad scores, but the one thing I always tell myself, and I share that with other players too, when I'm doing television and I see them struggling, I say, look, you don't have to be here. You choose to do this. And aren't you lucky? You choose to do something that you have talent for and you have the opportunity to take advantage of. And that generally tends to calm people down, and they go, well, yeah, you know what, I guess I am pretty good at golf. We all fall into that poor me category.
Sure.
You could be there right now.
I was there for a while.
Well, but
I got out of it.
But that's great. You pulled yourself out. We all tend to do that. We all tend to think, oh, why me? Why did I come down with this crazy disease? I lost a brother to AIDS. He was gay and he contracted AIDS and died. And I remember thinking, why in the world my brother? My parents died of cancer. My sister has MS. Why? But there is no rhyme or reason. It's life. It's a lottery, and that's the one thing. You've got to deal with what you've got, and you're doing that so beautifully. And like I said, I congratulate you and admire you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Peter. I mean, that's exactly what this whole thing is about, because, you know, when you get diagnosed with ALS or multifocal motor neuropathy or GBS or CIDP,
those are serious deals. And a lot of people kind of curl up in a ball and say, oh, woe is me. And I did that. But then I realized what Lou Gehrig meant when he said, today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth, because he knew what the rest of his life was going to be, and so do I. So I'm making the most of it. I think getting the diagnosis was a stroke of luck. A lot of people won't say that, but I do, because it brought me into what's most important. And that's sharing stories like this with you.
Well, you're handling this with such grace, and it reminds me a lot of my father. When my father, he had his tongue cut out for cancer back in when he was in his late 60s, where I am now. And my voice is always scratchy because I always have polyps on my vocal.
And you're an incredible singer.
Well, we could just stop right there. But my dad, when he had his tongue cut out and he eventually contracted colon cancer, he went from being a tough Navy pilot, which he was, to one of the kindest, nicest people on the planet, because he realized how precious life was. And no matter how long he was going to live, he was going to live it on purpose. He was going to live it with zest. And he traveled with me to tournaments. And upon his death, I remember asking him about golf, because he taught us how to play. I said, Dad, what's the most important thing about golf? Is it your grip, your stance, your rhythm? And he looked at me and he said, sense of humor. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, because golf is a game. Games are fun. You better have fun. And I think life's a game. And life should be fun. It should be enjoyed and lived to the fullest. I've always been drawn to quirky people, because I'm kind of quirky myself.
A lot of golfers are.
Well, a lot of people are. And in society, we've learned to shun the quirky people. Let's stick with the people that walk the straight and narrow and don't deviate. I don't know. To me, that's kind of boring. I like the guys that step off that path and they get out into traffic and things are whizzing by them at a high speed, and they handle it with grace, like you're doing. And
God bless you.
It's really impressive. I was taken when you told me. You stopped me. You said, "Excuse me, Peter, could I get 30 seconds of your time?" You told me your story, and I was immediately taken by that and impressed by you. And then you said, "Can we do this?" I said, "Of course we can do it."
God bless you.
It takes no time at all. But let me tell you, I've got two stories about why I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I'll go back to when I first started on tour. I qualified for the AT&T, the Pebble Beach National Pro-Am. I was a Monday qualifier. I was 22 years old. I just got my card. I had no idea if I could play at this level or not. University of Oregon didn't play a national schedule. I had no idea. I qualified. I went out to play a practice round at Monterey Peninsula. I went out on the backside. I'm just so excited to play in my first PGA Tour event.
Sure.
I cut across on the golf course, and I cut in front of a group. I didn't realize the group was there. I cut in front of the group. They were hitting shots. And I looked back, and it was Arnold Palmer.
Wow.
And I'm a rookie on tour. The only reason Arnold knew my name is because it was on my bag. It's the only reason. But there was an opportunity for some guy like Arnold Palmer to big time me. For a big star to big time a little guy. He could have blown me off, said, "Get out of the way," all that. Arnold walked right up to me, stuck his hand out, and said, "Hi, I'm Arnold Palmer. Nice to meet you, Peter. Could we join you?" And that told me all I needed to know about Arnold Palmer. He was a true man, a true human being, and kind. So kind. It doesn't cost you anything to be kind. You actually have to work at being a jerk.
That's true.
Because your first instinct is to, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you."
Right.
But if you want to be a jerk, you got to work at it. But Arnold, we played 3 holes in. We shook our hands, said goodbye, and that started literally a career-long opportunity for me to be with Arnold, travel with him, play with him in tournaments, partner with him. So that was, for my golf career, it was the luckiest moment of my golf career. Everything else after that, a good bounce off a bunker, not going in the water, making a birdie putt, that all pales in comparison to meeting my hero, having a chance to shake the hand of Arnold Palmer and learn from him about kindness and acceptance. That was a huge moment for me.
What an awesome story. I'm blown away. He's the king.
He's still the king.
Yeah.
I know Elvis Presley's the king, but in my world, it's Arnold Palmer.
Me
Always
too.
will be. The other story that makes me the luckiest guy in the world, luckiest golfer, luckiest guy, was I was recruited to go play college golf at Stanford. But I had to get in on my own grades, and I had good grades. I was a state high school champion from Oregon, but I had to submit my application. I had to get in. And once I got in, I was in. I had a scholarship and all that. Well, I didn't get in. I got that onion letter at the last. I was devastated. I had all my Stanford gear. I was ready to be a Stanford Cardinal, or a tree, I guess.
Yeah.
Stanford, their logo was a dancing tree. I've never been able to figure that out. But I ended up going to Oregon, University of Oregon, and that's where I met my wife. My girlfriend, I always call her. My kids and my grandkids go crazy. She's not your girlfriend. She's their wife. She's our Nana. But we've been married 46 years.
Wow.
And I would not have met her had I gone to Stanford. But I met my wife 46 years later, 3 kids, 4 grandkids, and that makes me the luckiest man in the world because she's the finest person I've ever met in my life. She exhibits that kindness, that gentle touch with everybody she comes in contact with. And I'm drawn to people like Barbara Nicholas, Jan Haas, Jay Haas's wife, Vivian Player, Maria Floyd. These are my peeps, my peeps.
Women.
And they just accepted me. They accepted the young guys on tour. And so, again, meeting Arnold and then meeting my wife, by not getting into Stanford, and as Garth Brooks writes that song, thank God for unanswered prayers. And he's so right. He's so right.
You can say that again. Well, Peter, thank you so much. These stories have been incredible. We end our podcast with a quick 10 questions, just rapid fire, whatever pops in your head.
Okay.
You want to give it a shot?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
So, what is your favorite golf word?
Boy, that's a good one. My favorite golf word. Is this an X-rated show? Or
It's kind of-
it's probably of the 4-letter category, but it's not what you're thinking. It's probably down.
Okay.
Because I hit a flyer out of the rough and I'm yelling, "Get down!" Just like every Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Get down! Get to the chopper.
How about your least favorite golf word?
Well, it wouldn't be a word, it'd be a phrase. You're still away.
Okay. When given an opportunity, do you take a cart or a caddy?
Oh, I would take a caddy every
Me too.
time.
Me
Every
too.
time. I'm 68 years old now. I need to get as much exercise as I can. I want to stay in shape. Riding a cart, well, that's a part of the game. And when I was injured, when I had my hips replaced, I did take a cart, but now I feel good enough caddy and walking.
Me too. So the next question is, what is your favorite non-curse word to use on the golf course?
Favorite non-curse word? Man, you got some good questions here. I would say crap.
Okay.
Crap.
What brings you the most joy when you're on the golf course?
The smells. The smell of, if I'm on the West Coast, Pebble Beach, Torrey Pines, Astoria, Oregon, the smell of the ocean, the fresh air, the smell of cut grass. I tell my wife all the time, when I wake up in the morning, we go do something and the grass was just mowed in our neighborhood or somewhere, and I smell it, I always say, I want to go tee it up. We're not going to go see your mother. We're going to go tee it up.
Right on.
Which doesn't get a good response on that.
So the next question is, what profession, other than being a touring pro and NBC announcer, would you like to attempt?
Well, if I hadn't got my card, I probably would have been in the golf business in some capacity, probably working as a club pro, teaching, working with members at a club, because I really enjoy people and I enjoy learning about golf and teaching golf and sharing golf ideas. So it would more than likely be a PGA of America pro.
Is there a profession that you absolutely could not do?
I don't know. I've never thought about that. maybe be a podcast host.
Okay, here's the last question. If heaven exists and you get to the big golf course in the sky, what 3 players do you want God to have waiting for you on the first tee?
Well, it would be my late father, my late brother, and my late mother, because we all played as a family of 6. Mom, Dad, David, Peter, Paul, Susan.
Holy
and by the
smokes.
way, my brother David, my older brother,
I met
David,
him
is
yesterday.
the first tee starter here at the Senior Open.
Fantastic.
We used to play as a family, the 6 of us. And a lot of times we would play 6-ons. And we had a combined handicap of, I think, all 6 of us, 24, 25, 26. So we were all pretty proficient players. But to me, golf is family. It's hanging together. The really good times on the golf course were the really great times with family. And as family grows up and they all separate, we lose some, we get married, we kind of move apart. But I would say, the 3 family members that I've lost.
That would be one heck of a force.
Oh, it'd be so much.
I can see the beaming coming from it.
It would be really special.
Well, folks, there you had it. Mr. Peter Jacobsen, certainly one of the luckiest golfers on earth. And
Next to you.
well, this guy, there's a club. We're creating a club called the Luckiest Golfers on Earth Club. And if you've been a PGA Tour player, if you're a PGA professional at a top 100 golf course, you're instantly in the club. So
I'm in.
you are in the club, Peter. Thank you
I'm
very
in.
much.
What's
Thanks
my member number? 38?
001.
You're very kind.
God bless everyone. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Well, let me just say, Teddy, that was awesome. I mean, I'm a huge Jake fan, from his playing days to his commentary days, and just real quick. I mean, for those listening, I saw the video of the recording. I mean, you guys are sitting in a golf cart together. You're side by each. Just 2 guys having a conversation like your old friends.
It was
Just
incredible.
What a gentleman. Yeah.
He's an absolute. The guy's never met a stranger in his life. I bet it was just absolute gem of a human being. The way he talked about his mom and dad, and his family members, and getting to meet the king, Arnold Palmer. As a 20-something-year-old, at his first event as a pro, he just got his name on his bag. I mean, I was sitting there like, am I in a movie? What is happening here? It was incredible, man.
Well, and Teddy, I think a lot of people or maybe have picked up that, we've been talking about the Luckiest Golfers on Earth podcast, and your conversation with Jake made us both realize that there are more people who are lucky in life, lucky in the game of golf than just you and me. And
for sure.
That was the reason and the emphasis for us changing the name to Luckiest Golfers on Earth. Really listening to that conversation and another amazing story. And right now it makes all the sense in the world. But just from a great interview and listening to story after story after story, we want to hear these stories, and we want to hear from as many of the luckiest golfers on earth and bring these stories to as many people as we possibly can.
So why don't we talk about that? Like, we had both kind of looked at each other when we started this the beginning of March and said, okay, we're going to make our best effort. This is what we think it's going to be, but it's going to morph. We both kind of knew that it was going to morph into something that we couldn't envision. And I'm tickled pink that it's morphed into this, because the reality is, I am, I thought to myself, hey, if I can pull this off, if I can say on December 31st, 2023, I got to play America's 100 greatest courses, and I did it in a single calendar year with no airplanes, no hotel rooms, no rental cars, and no golf carts, I figured, hey, I got to be the luckiest golfer on earth. But the deeper we've gotten into this, Mike, I mean, we're talking about a gigantic club here. The Luckiest Golfers on Earth Club. And if we're in this, quote unquote club, what constitutes membership into the Luckiest Golfers on Earth Club. I would say if you play or try to tackle the top 100 golf courses in a 365-day period, you're going to be in the Luckiest Golfers on Earth Club. But it's also, if you play any level of professional golf, if you make your living chasing a little white ball around, you, in my mind, you are in the club of the luckiest golfers on earth. How many people are sitting behind a desk right now listening to this podcast with a suit and tie on, thinking about, oh, Saturday's almost here. I get to play on Saturday. And then some of these guys wake up, roll out of bed, and the first thing they're doing is, like in their backyard, is they're chipping, or they might have a putting green in their backyard because it's their job. It's what, you know.
Sure. But Teddy, to be lucky in golf, I think can be anyone. I think if you can, if you're fortunate enough to play golf with your father, if you're lucky to play with your best friends, if you're lucky to teach the game of golf to your child, if you're lucky enough to play on a high school golf team with some buddies and make some memories, if you're able to go to a driving range, if you're able to stand upright and swing a club, right? I mean, there's everyone who has the ability to do anything with the game of golf has a story that can get them into the luckiest golfers on earth club, and we want to hear about it, right? From like you said, from making making a living playing golf to making a hole in one to making your first 10-foot putt, I still remember my first birdie that I ever made with my dad on the 15th hole at Green Hill, downhill par 3,
I know
7-iron onto the green. He lined up the putt, and I made my first two. I still remember it. He was with his one of his buddies, and the three of us went, and I could still picture high-fiving both of them. And so,
wow. What a memory.
Anyway, look, one thing that's not going to change is your disability, right? And
unfortunately, no.
As it may not be an immediate death sentence. It's still nothing that anybody wants. I've seen you poke yourself with your IV. I've seen your hand come off the club when you swing. I've seen your face droop when you get
you don't have to bring
tired.
that up again.
It causes all your weight gain and your hair loss. I mean, I'm just kidding there. I'm just taking some jabs at you there. But so that's not going to change. And the fact that you're trying to do this before it gets any worse, and you might not be able to do it, it's admirable, and it's a great story, and it's a special story. And there's a lot of great stories. And look, we started this podcast to help create some awareness of what you were doing, to show the wonderful work some of the PGA professionals at top 100 golf courses do every single day. And it's morphed into this. And hearing a story from Jake was just another perfect example. So,
and hopefully we'll have many more. I have some other opportunities that we'll talk about as we go down the road. But we're going to start bringing you a number of the luckiest golfers on earth. It's been a great episode. Mike, I can't thank you enough for all your involvement and joining every week. You're an absolute stud. And we look forward to bringing you more guests next week. And remember to visit our website, luckiestgolfersonearth.com, and sign up on our email list. And please shout us out on our social media. And
we want to hear from you. If you know of one of the luckiest golfers on earth, share their story with us. Shoot us an email, reach out on social media, because we want to talk to them. And if it's you, we want to talk with you.
Yeah.
So as always, it's been great, Teddy. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of it. And I can't wait till our next episode.
God bless you, Michael Higgins. We'll see you next week, folks. Take care.
Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Luckiest Golfer on Earth podcast. Please visit our website at luckiestgolferonearth.com and join our email list for all the latest exclusive updates and opportunities. We are working on a lot of fun surprises, and email subscribers will be the first to know. Have a great week, everyone, and may God bless all of you.